What's going on, everyone? This is a drone I've been waiting for. This is the Xiaomi Fimi X8 2020, and that's a mouthful for sure. But this is a pretty exciting drone because it comes in somewhere between the Mavic Mini and the Mavic Air in both terms of price and specs. So I want to put this thing through the paces and tell you all about this Xiaomi Fimi X8 2020. Let's go. Okay, so let's talk about some of the things you want to know about this right off the bat. This is the 2020 edition, which means there are some improvements over the 2018 edition. The first is range, 8,000 meter range on the 2020 edition. That's an improvement over the 5,000 meter range on the 2018 edition. Now, can you really fly it that far away? No, but you will get better signal strength on this thing. So that's definite improvement. Also, the flight time has bumped up from 33 minutes to 35 minutes. Now, I've done a full flight time test. Now, 35 minutes is at a constant 8 meters per second speed, they say, in optimum conditions with no wind. That's not what my test was. My test was lots of hovering, fly it around, take some pictures, do a selfie, stuff like that. So if you want to see the exact, I think it was 29 minutes or so, give or take, when I had about 10% battery left. So, that's actually not too bad. None of these drones live up to the exact range or flight time spec. The camera on this is a 4K camera, capable of shooting 30 frames a second. That's pretty cool. It does have a pretty decent dynamic range. There are a handful of pretty intelligent flight modes, GPS modes, vision tracking, right? There are a few different follow me modes. I found the best one to be where it locks onto the target and you fly the drone and it kind of keeps that position. Now, none of these really are great in follow me modes. When I say none of these, I mean most drones, really, unless you're going with the Skydio. That's what that one was built to do. But it does a decent job. And there are also waypoints, circle, and spiral. I really like the circle or the orbit mode because it's GPS based, which means it's not trying to track something when you get halfway behind it, it loses it and tries to find it again. DJI. I really like the spiral, you get some unique video footage. I prefer shooting in 1080 rather than 4K, and in 1080 you get higher frame rates, which is nice if you want to do slow-mo. I'd suggest sticking at 60 frames a second and not going any higher than that. It does take panoramic photos, and you have a few different options, which is cool. You can get the super wide one, you can get the up and down version. The panoramic photos will be put together on your phone, and then you download it to your phone, and then you can upload it to your computer or share it on your social media from there. Now let's talk about the construction of this drone. A couple of things. You see this looks like metal heat sink on the bottom. It's not, it's plastic, so that's not going to be as useful as a metal one. We do have an optical flow camera here on the bottom. We also have a sonic sensor on the bottom to kind of help with positioning. Now, in my flight test, it was not super great until it picked up like 15, 16 satellites, and then it did start to balance out there. I want to point out right here, you'll notice this gimbal, right? It's a nice gimbal. It's got a nice protection there. It's a full 3-axis gimbal, but this piece came broken, right? And I had some issues with some quality control stuff right off the bat, right? One, this little gimbal piece was broken when I pulled it out. Now, it doesn't really actually affect it too much. I'm going to super glue it in there, but I wanted to show you that first. Second issue was this. This is the iPhone cord. Notice there's no iPhone connector here, right? No lightning plug. That's because when I pulled it out of my iPad on its very first flight, that little lightning connector stayed inside of my iPad. So I had to resort to just a regular standard old iPhone cord, and that worked just fine. Also, mine shipped with the European plug. I'm not in Europe, I'm in the USA. Thankfully, I had a replacement for this, but that was probably my problem, right? Make sure you're ordering a USA plug, not European. So another issue I had was related to the video feed, right? You can see here this video feed is super sped up. So while I was doing actually the flight time test, so if you've seen me do the flight time test of this video, you saw at about 12, 13 minutes, the video feed just cut out and was super slow and choppy. Well, the next time I flew this drone, which was later that night, I wanted to take it up and catch a sunset, it played back that video that I missed earlier in the day. So you saw it super fast. This is me like trying to figure out like what the heck just happened. Why did it play all that video? You know, I don't actually know why all of that happened. I did have a firmware update that I had to do on this drone that I did after this flight here. So, you know, I haven't had that issue since. I was also flying on a secondary cord. The original cord that I came with this drone to connect to my phone had broken. So it could have been related to, you know, either of those things, the firmware or, you know, the secondary cord, or, you know, who knows, maybe my phone was overheating. Who knows, right? But it was a really strange issue. At no point did I lose connection to the drone, so that was good. I just couldn't see the FPV feed on my screen, right? And like you saw, came back to life later on that night for whatever reason. So I'm definitely thinking it was a cache issue. Who knows? Like I said, haven't happened to me since. But if you've seen this issue, please let me know what's going on here. But yeah, you got to know that happened, right? And it's not cool. Overall, it's a nice drone. It doesn't quite have the finish that a lot of the DJI products do, but it's on par with, say, something like the Hubsan Zeno. It looks like there might be obstacle avoidance here, but there is not. That's just for show. It's got some heft to it. It's not a small drone. It's like 765 grams, give or take. And of course folds up, but you have to do it in the proper order, because if you don't, right, the arms won't fold for you. The camera is good. It's nice and sharp. It does have an HDR mode and a night mode. I didn't find them to be super fantastic. I really love the HDR coming out of the Mavic Air 2, and it's definitely not on par with that. Take a look at the controller. It does fit an iPad if you need to fly with an iPad. I fly with an iPad Mini sometimes, and that was kind of nice. It's not, you know, super high quality premium, right? But that's kind of Xiaomi's thing, right? They do things that are nice, but not great. The sticks are okay. I do like that it has a hard return home switch that you kind of have to click. Power button. We got 4 different position switches that'll do different things, like move the gimbal or show you maps, or battery life. I forget what the 4th preset is. On the back there are a couple of buttons for photo and video. Then we have a gimbal adjustment here. You can change the gimbal speed. You have full customizability in the menus for your settings, for your exposure values and things like that. And actually this wheel over here is set to change the exposure value. So if you want to do that on your own, you can. And of course, you can also set it to auto. It's about $459, I think. I've seen it at $399. I've actually even seen it at $379 on sale at Banggood. And that's a good price for it. Now, would I recommend this over the $399 Mavic Mini? You know, that's hard to say. The camera on the Mini is definitely better. This is probably a more solid drone in terms of being able to handle the wind. It does, on paper, sound a lot better than the Mavic Mini, but the reality is you buy these things for their camera, and at the end of the day, the DJI Mavic Mini camera is better than this. Even though that one will only go up to 2.7K and not 4K, this one will do 4K. But it doesn't matter what the resolution is if the sensor can't handle all of that information. If you're looking for something that isn't DJI and you want to spend about $400, then this is probably your best option. I'm going to compare this to all of the other sub $1,000 non-DJI drones that I have, and also we'll take a look at, you know, how does this compare to some of the other drones in its price range, like the Mini, like the Hubsan Zeno 2. If you're kind of thinking about, you know, what drone should I get, well, we'll do a full comparison. Chris has a great camera comparison video that he's working on where he puts basically every drone from $400 up to $1,600 through the test and breaks it down for you so you can see, you know, how do they compare at each dollar price point. Hopefully this was helpful. We've got other videos on this and other drones as well, and don't forget to check out our YouTube channel. If I missed something, leave me a comment down below, ask me a question. I'd love to hear from you. I want to know what you want to know. Anyway, good luck and happy flying.